The pink knitted sock. The following day, Magnolia sat on the doormat, lacing up her sneakers, eager to set off on their next adventure. Iris stood beside her, rifling through the knapsack, when their plans were abruptly interrupted. "Where are you going? Cousin Alan and Auntie May are coming over for lunch," said Mrs. Wu. When Magnolia and Alan were little, they used to put on fashion shows, wearing customers' coats and sequined gowns, which they were 100 million% not allowed to do. Sometimes they painted pictures on paper. Then Mr. Wu would tape the paintings to chopsticks and stick them in the dirt outside, like little billboards, a free art gallery on the street. But over time, Alan had stopped coming by, preferring to study at home. He said art was a childish hobby and focused instead on piano and chemistry, while the adults oohed and awed at his accomplishments. Magnolia once tried to connect with him through science and asked him to make a baking soda volcano. But Alan had scoffed and said it was a project for dull minds who played with the kitchen ingredients and smelly vinegar. It was tradition for Auntie May and Alan to bring over egg tarts around Magnolia's birthday. Those glossy yellow hockey pucks always put her in a sunny mood. But now all she wanted was to be outside with Iris. So when Mrs. Wu told Magnolia to run upstairs and make sure they had the cilantro in the fridge, she let out a sigh. "What?" said Mrs. Wu. "I didn't say anything," said Magnolia, sprinting upstairs. The Wu's apartment upstairs was so small that everything touched another thing. The bed touched the table, which touched the chair, which touched the stove. To get around, one had to shuffle sideways. Iris perched herself on the edge of the sink while Magnolia dug through the lower drawers of the refrigerator. "Can you stay and eat with us?" said Magnolia to Iris. "Please." Magnolia grabbed the cilantro, slammed the refrigerator door shut, and pointed to a piece of art that'd been stuck there with a magnet. It was a portrait of Mr. Pence, Alan's name spelled out across the bottom in large cricket letters. "Alan made that when he was 6, said Magnolia. "Good, right? But then he dropped all the art stuff and became boring and serious. Thinks he's better than everyone else because he can play Bach." The bell chimed downstairs. Magnolia rolled her eyes and walked down to greet them while Iris followed. "Magnolia, you've grown so much," said Auntie May. "What have you been doing this summer?" "Exploring," said Magnolia, taking a bite of the egg tart Auntie May held out to her. Magnolia licked the flaky clump of crust off her lips as Auntie May brushed the bangs from her eyes. "We've been all over the city." "Good for you," said Auntie May. "You are just like your mom." "Like my mom?" said Magnolia. "Your mom always used to sneak off when we were little, crawl under fences, through holes, over walls. I remember she'd come home right before dinner and say, 'Check me.' It was my job to check for leaves in her hair, pieces of grass in her ear, cobwebs on her shirt. I'd wipe the dirt off her face, make sure she was presentable before our mom had any questions about where she'd been. I think that's how she learned to sew, patching up her ripped skirts that snagged on thorny bushes." Magnolia found it impossible to imagine her young mom crawling through holes just for the fun of it. She had never seen this adventurous, rebellious spirit Auntie May was describing. Even now, if Magnolia so much as touched the crosswalk button, Mrs. Wu would just squirt sanitizer into her hand. "Magnolia, make yourself useful," said Mrs. Wu as she set down bowl after bowl of steaming noodles on the folding table. As soon as they sat down, Ellen turned to Magnolia's mom and said, "How's business these days?" Who even talks like that? Magnolia thought. Ellen was 12, but acted like he was 30. Ellen then switched over to speaking in Chinese, which meant Magnolia could only understand one out of every 6 words. She tried to string the words together to create a narrative in her head. She smiled when other people laughed and nodded when people nodded. A part of her was glad to be tuned out, since the conversation was always Ellen this, Ellen that. Meanwhile, Mrs. Wu was getting up and down, refilling tea, offering juice, and scooping more meat into their bowls. "Ellen, stop playing with your food," said Auntie May. Magnolia glanced up and caught her aunt removing the chopsticks from Ellen's hands and setting them down on the table. Magnolia grinned, seeing Ellen being reprimanded. The second everyone was done eating, Magnolia went around the table, collecting everyone's bowls, eager to have an excuse for her and Iris to escape the conversation. As Magnolia washed the dishes, she vented to Iris. "Do you get what I mean now? It's like all the interesting parts drained out of him. He's so pompous." "Do you think Alan's happy?" said Iris, drying off a bowl with a dish towel. "Why wouldn't he be? He's good at everything," said Magnolia. Magnolia tipped Alan's bowl into the sink, and a large clump of noodles slid out. The knot of noodles clogged the drain, the sink making a sound like it was choking. "Ugh," said Magnolia. "I'm the one who finished all of my food, and he's still the one who gets praised. You know what? I shouldn't have to clean up after him." Magnolia peeled off the rubber dishwashing gloves and threw them on the counter. "Come on, let's go." They just brought out sunflower seeds, which means seed cracking and intense chatting for at least 30 minutes. Which sock is up next?" Iris rummaged through her knapsack and pulled out a pink knitted sock. She examined the yarn, rubbing it between her thumb and forefinger. "This sock is slightly misshapen, probably knitted by hand. Ready for SOC sock?" said Iris. Magnolia nodded, closed her eyes, and let her mind flow like a stream. The first image that popped into her mind was a knitted coaster. Constellation Diner. At Constellation Diner, Levi made pancakes that looked like the surface of the moon and macho balls the size of comets. He needed circular orange coasters to look like meteors that were scattered along the countertops. Magnolia had always wanted to enjoy a mug of coffee on a coaster, but her mom said no caffeine until she was 13 because it stumped her growth. Magnolia often went alone, and instead of charging for each pancake Magnolia ate, Levi kept a tally on a piece of paper taped next to the cash register. Mrs. Wu would come at the end of each month to pay for them all at once. Magnolia and Iris walked in, met by the sounds of clinking spoons and sizzling eggs and ice cubes jostling around in plastic cups. "Have a seat, Magnolia, and I'll have your pancakes out soon," said Levi, flying by in a white apron. They hoisted themselves onto the stools on the counter. "What'll it be today? 2, 4, 6?" said Levi. "Just 2 pancakes today," said Magnolia. "6? Did he say 6? said Iris. "Sometimes I eat 6, said Magnolia. "If I'm having a low day, 8. 5 minutes later, Levi set down the pancakes. "Careful, plate's hot," he said, extra sugar for our new guest." As Levi sprinkled the powdered sugar over the pancakes, Iris was mesmerized by the white dots drifting down like she was seeing snowfall for the first time. "Parents are good, everybody good," said Levi. "Tell your parents not to work too hard." This is what Levi always said, and every time Magnolia would nod, even though they both knew that Levi and her parents would always be working too hard. Magnolia had never seen Levi take a day off, even when the electricity went out, or it flooded, or everyone had fled New York. There was Levi. "Where do you keep your yarn?" said Magnolia, hoping to find the same pink-colored yarn as the sock. Levi was always walking away. Levi was already walking away, arms full of plates smeared with ketchup and half-eaten pickles. "Drawer under the register," he called over his shoulder. "It's all the yarn I got." Magnolia pulled open the drawer and peeked inside. There were bent forks and mustard packets and the balls of orange and black yarn, but no pink. The yarn was wrapped in a paper label. On the back of the label, written in tiny print, it read, "Nitty Bitty NYC, here for all of your knitting needs. 850 Hudson Street." "All right, let's take our pancakes on the go," said Magnolia. "How do you take pancakes on the go?" said Iris. Magnolia rolled up her pancakes like a thick flute, poured the syrup down the hole in the center, and chomped off the end. By the time they got to Nitty Bitty, their fingers were sticky and their foreheads were glossy with sweat. Nitty Bitty was in a small brick building a few steps below ground level. There were stacks of wire baskets filled with skeins of yarn and silk threads of the color of asparagus and chili peppers and dandelions. A man with a dangling golden earring sat behind the counter, embroidering the Statue of Liberty onto a pillow. "Hello," said Iris, pulling out the pink knitted sock. "Do you happen to sell this pink yarn?" "Oh, sure," he said. "That pink color is a favorite of one of our biggest customers, a lady named Nala. She places all of her orders online. I've never actually seen her in person." "I see," said Iris. "Any chance you know Nala's last name? Or where she lives?" said Magnolia. "Or what she looks like?" said Iris. "Or how to reach her?" said Magnolia. The man shook his head. "Have to respect customer confidentiality. But if you manage to meet her in person, please thank her for her business. That sock is beautiful work. You are lucky to have one of her pieces." Magnolia was ready to go find Nala, but she knew she had to get home. "We have to say a proper goodbye to Ellen and Auntie May," said Magnolia. Back outside the laundromat, Magnolia paused and turned to Iris. Do I have powdered sugar on my face?" she said. As Iris brushed some powdered sugar off her ear, Magnolia thought of her young mom saying, "Check me," to Auntie May. "All clear," said Iris. The moment they walked into the door, Mrs. Wu said, "Magnolia, you left a mess in the sink." Magnolia huffed and stomped up into the kitchen. She grimaced and reached her hand into the cloudy water to locate the slimy noodle mess. She was about to toss the noodles into the trash when Iris grabbed her wrist. "Wait!" Iris held out her hand, and Magnolia dropped the wad of noodles into her open palm. "Blah! Blah! What are you doing?" said Magnolia. "Get me a Ziploc bag," We have to preserve our evidence. Magnolia rustled through the drawers for a bag. During lunch, I was watching Ellen eat, said Iris. He was holding his chopsticks funny, one chopstick in each hand. That's when your aunt scolded him about playing with his food. Iris pinched the noodle mass by the corner and held it up so Magnolia could see what she'd seen. The noodles were woven together with the same intricate, elegant stitching as the sock. No way, said Magnolia. But Nola's the one who knitted the sock. Exact, exactly, said Iris, placing her finger paint on the painting stuck to the refrigerator door. She ran her finger along Ellen's name backward. Nala, Nala. Iris and Magnolia approached the table where the adults were still chatting, while Ellen read a music theory book in the corner. Ellen, do you want to come hang out with us in the kitchen? Said Magnolia. Mrs. Wood squinted at her, suspicious. With nothing better to do, Ellen followed them. Magnolia tossed a Ziploc bag of wet noodles onto the counter. Talk, said Magnolia. Gross, said Ellen. Those are leftover noodles. Why are you showing them to me? Does this clear things up? Said Magnolia, dropping the pink knitted sock beside it. Ellen glanced at the doorway, then leaned forward and spoke in a hushed and panicked voice. What's your deal? What do you want from me? Said Ellen. So you did knit this, said Magnolia, slightly stunned. Yes, I knitted this sock, and I knitted the noodles with my chopsticks. My mind drifts off and does it naturally. So what? Are you going to make fun of me? No, said Iris. It's a beautiful piece. Even the guy at the knitting store complimented it. Really? Said Ellen. What else did he say? How do you get money to buy yarn? Said Magnolia, her mind still scrambling to catch up. I keep a percentage of the money I win from piano competitions. The rest goes to my college fund, said Ellen. He lowered his voice for the next part. I can do more than just socks. This sock is just a piece of a larger ensemble. I have this vision, an entire runway of my knitted pieces. As Alan began talking, Magnolia thought he looked different. Not his hair or his glasses or anything. It was just that when he talked about what he loved, his face brightened and his eyes widened and his shoulders loosened and his hands started dancing in the air. Ellen became almost unrecognizable in a good way, and she felt like she was meeting him for the first time. Creating modern designs out of yarn makes the pieces feel striking but familiar, cozy, and chic. Hoodies that unfurl into floor-length dresses, bucket hats that extend into scarves. I have so many ideas, just no time to execute them. Why haven't you ever talked about this? Said Magnolia. My mom buys clothes once a year, mostly from Costco, said Alan. Forget personal expression. All she cares about is practicality. You have to show her, said Magnolia. No way. As soon as she finds out about this, it's over. I just have to wait until I'm 18 and out of here. I'm going to make it big so that by the time she finds out, she'll be so satisfied with my success that she won't stop me. It's all planned out already. I don't need you interfering. Are all the dishes cleaned? Said Mrs. Wu, appearing in the doorway. Yes, Alan was just helping me unclog the sink, said Magnolia. Alan shot Magnolia a look that said, if you say anything, I'll plug your eyeballs out and feed them to the ducks. Magnolia had assumed that Alan's artistic talent had been squashed and traded in for what was expected of him, but it was still there, bubbling right below the surface. She wanted him to be able to yell his ideas from the mountaintops, to share his gift of creating. They just had to time it right. Ma, can Alan hang out a little longer? Mrs. Wu looked at Magnolia like she'd asked to chug a gallon of cold mushroom soup. Yes, said Mrs. Wu. Maybe he will inspire you to take up piano lessons. As soon as she left the room, he shuddered. I can't stand piano. Whenever I play, I imagine there are bugs on the keys and I'm squashing them. I'm squishing them. That's the only way to make it decently amusing. Magnolia felt strongly that Alan might be one of her favorite people in all of New York City. You know, I used to love coming here, but after a while, it made me sad, said Alan. Maybe this laundromat is boring to you, but you're sitting on a gold mine. Every day, you get to see the fabric skin that people choose to put on, leather vests, fish costumes, crocheted gowns. Being here reminded me of everything I wanted to do, but I had no idea how to make it happen. It's going to happen, said Iris. This little patch of noodles is going to be worth a lot one day. What you can do is really special. And if someone doesn't think so, it's their problem, not yours. Someday the whole world will get to enjoy your creations. But right now it's just the three of us in the kitchen. I don't know how you will get to that moment from this moment, but I know you will get there and we'll be rooting you on. Alien didn't respond, just leaned forward and scooped them into a hug. So Magnolia's cousin was a fashion designer. Even better, he wanted to be her friend again. The shock had led them to the most unpredictable outcome. Who knew what would happen next?